Hi everyone, welcome back. I am not using a mic again today because I'm having serious mic issues, and I think that the answer is that everything needs to be updated. So if you can hear the room, if you hear other things, that's exactly why. Today, I am so excited to be listening to the new Charli XCX album. Memes have been everywhere. My friends have been talking about it, and because I listen to music with you, I just don't listen to it. So I've been suffering for the past 2 weeks, hearing snips here and there and just being like, it's okay, when we get there, we get there. And today is finally the day. I loved Charli X's last album, Crash. It was so good. And given the way this project has gotten rave reviews, I'm sure I'm in for a treat. So let's not waste any more time and let's listen to Charli XCX's Brat. First of all, the bass is on. I'm loving it. That was such a sweet intro. And I'm pretty sure I've heard that song before. If not on TikTok, then I have actually listened to it. Because I know the words, and I'm like, how would I know the words if I haven't heard it in full somewhere? But at the same time, I don't think I have. This is like the Charli XCX lore. Like, it plays everywhere and then it's somehow seeping into my brain, and then suddenly I know things that I don't even realize I know. I think that's a very strong opening. I am so excited to hear more of this project. This first track fills you with so much excitement, so I'm ready to keep going ahead. I love how self-aware that track is because it's calling for more club classics, but she also wants to dance to herself. And now this album is so successful that she will be dancing to herself. And I feel like that intention came to life. I know that there is a part of Charli's history in rave culture, and I know that parts of this project were inspired by that. And you can definitely sense that on the production as well, where it is less in the mainstream category that I feel like Charli was in with the last project, and more tailored to that rave culture and also just making something fresh and interesting. I love the way the vocals were also layered on the track. It felt like it was out of time, but it definitely was in time. And this is another song that I have heard before, so it's not as new and exciting, but the first time I heard it, I was so caught up in it. I think that going forward, I can only identify whether or not starting off the project with 2 singles is good once I hear the rest of it. It's definitely a choice, and I don't know if that's a choice from a marketing perspective, sales perspective, or just from the flow of the album. I hope that it services the flow of the album. I don't mind not being as surprised when I first take a listen. In fact, I do feel like it's made me have more of an appetite for what's to come, but I'm curious to see if that sequencing makes sense to me. I love the vocals on this, and I also love the moments of silence. There are also so many lyrics in this song that are striking, talking about the blade, the machinery that we're using. If you catch my drift, I'm trying not to get demonetized. I don't want to say these words, but you understand, at least from the title of the song, what's going on here. I love the play between sympathy and having softness for someone and feeling that as a sharpness because it isn't genuine. Part of me thinks this is relationship centered because we mention a boyfriend show. And I don't know enough about Charli XCX or any artist to begin piecing together the actual gossip around their lives and like the events that have happened. Like I just want to understand it in the music, which is why I tend to look at albums as having main characters, whether or not it is the artist themselves. This does feel relationship based, and that relates back to the Sympathy itself coming from a relationship, not necessarily the relationship with the boyfriend though, because we do have a lyric talking about not being able to be that person if she tried to be that person. So there's some tension between them. The song itself also feels very cutting. The production is cutting. There are moments where it just stops and we have a blank space for less than a second. And that allows us to feel the jagged edges of the production, but also of the lyrics. Even Charli's vocals are also somewhat chopped up in moments. They feel glitchy. And I do love a glitchy project. I love when we're experimenting with what music sounds like. And even though this song is definitely in Charli's wheelhouse of darker sounding pop, it is, and I know like AJ Cook produced a lot of this, the production itself feels very forward thinking, especially for pop. I also appreciate how short the song is. It feels contained. Even the last two songs were also short, and that reads to me like Charli is getting in and out and knows exactly what she wants to say. And I appreciate that, even if it does leave an air of mystery like this song definitely does. This is also the first emotional song that we're hearing. This is the first song that doesn't have the confidence of the last two. So I wonder what the balance of confident and emotional songs on the project will be like. So short and so vulnerable. I think it's true that Charli XCX has existed on this plane of being very popular, but not necessarily as cherished in the mainstream. And I think a lot of that comes from having a meteoric rise at the start and then still making really good pop, but having the pop landscape change so much. I think that Charli is interesting in what pop music can do and what the genre sounds like. And then there's just music that is popular, that gets radio play, and that may not necessarily be any other of Charli's songs except for the biggest songs off of a certain project. So I understand feeling the balance between being incredibly famous and living somewhat of a normal life. I guess that also makes sense depending on where you are in the world. I love how vulnerable and candid this is though, even the moment of getting your tights caught on the lawn chair, because it's so universal. It paints a picture of loneliness that feels dark and muted. I'm thinking of a lot of blues and greens, obviously from this album cover, but a darker skies, darker clothing. Something about it feels kind of like a funeral. And I don't know if that funeral is connected to this rebirth or resurgence that we're having, which is also interesting because that would only really matter or only really be true if the audience responded to it in that way, which we are. This album is soaring. It is incredibly popular. People are talking about it all the time. But I wonder what the opposite would be if it weren't as successful. Would she still continue to do music in this way? At least under her own name as an artist. In sequence with the project though, it is taking us to a new location. We've had two confident songs, one very introspective, self-flagellating song, and now we have this vulnerable song. So I wonder what the energy will be like going forward. I think that we need something a little upbeat. I think that the confidence in this project is more than that. I think it's creative capability. And this feels like a persona of Charli XCX, or maybe a returning to a genuine interest that we haven't seen as often. The genre bending, the intricate and exciting production, the lyrical quality, as in like the vocal ballads with a little bit of voice modulation and specificity of lyrics, are all things that Charli has done most recently. And I'm referencing Crash because Crash is the most recent thing that I can think of and really remember listening to quite often. We got the upbeat nature, but we still have this vulnerable thread where we're craving communication. This does feel romantic relationship based, dating someone who is not acknowledging you in public, or maybe you just have a connection where you don't talk about it to other people, but you see them and you want to talk to them, obviously. I love the production on this because it feels so fluid. It feels easier than the lyrics are making the thing sound. Are you thinking about me? I'm kind of thinking you are. I followed you to the If it were easier to talk to this person lyrically, maybe we wouldn't feel as rewarded with production that is so fluid, because it's the opposition between these two things that make it so dynamic. I really appreciate that so much of this project is relational and blunt. It feels like all the things that we are not supposed to say, but we're choosing to say them now. And releasing all of this energy, all of this confusion, and putting it to song feels like the right choice that we've made for ourselves, the right choice that Charli has made for herself. And as a listener, it feels very freeing to be this strange. I don't think I've ever listened to that in headphones before. That production is wild. Wild. The layering at the end, there's just so much going on that you can almost miss it. I feel like I have missed it multiple times because I'm listening to it in a car and I don't hear anything except for the bass. But wow, that's incredible. Now we've had a return to that creatively in control identity that is the source of a lot of jealousy, I do think. I think it is difficult to be this adaptable and to make things that feel true to you and to still find success. And whether or not that is mainstream success, because I think there's a lot of success that Charli has had that's specific to queer communities, which is still, like, we're still people, okay? We still be bumping music, we still dictate culture in many ways and many times. Feeling that there is envy directed towards you because you are able to adapt like this over and over again. This definitely comes at a weird time in the project for me though, where I feel like we've started high with 360 and then dipped Time Might Say Something Stupid, and now we're coming back up at Von Dutch, at least emotionally. We've had a flash of vulnerability, a flash of our reality, how we see things that is not in line with this confident, creative person who everybody aspires to be. There's definitely a shedding of skin here, and there's more for us to learn as this project goes on. But I'm quite bewildered by the emotional messages of this because it's pointing me in so many different directions. It almost feels like it's not true. It feels true. It feels very emotionally true. It feels just veiled enough and mysterious enough that it could be closer to Charli's life. But the erratic nature of it makes it feel fake. I know it does not matter what I actually believe of the project in the lyrics. I know the only thing that matters, at least to me, is how it makes me feel. And in this context and in this genre, I feel like with pop, truth does not matter to me as much as the assembling of many different things, because I have an experience when listening to pop where things start to feel quite vapid and vacuous, and I don't like the lack of intention in it, but that's not what this project has. This project has so much intention. It's just veiled through so many things. Like there are layers consistently flying off with each song.
Tattoos on the tan skin, Jesus Christ on a plastic sign. Fall in love again and again, riding roads to manual drive. Tattoos on the tan skin, Jesus Christ on a plastic sign. Fall in love again and again, riding roads to manual drive.
It started off sounding like I was on a quest to visit the Knights Templar, and ended with sensory moments that made me feel like I was back in the real world. And we went through so many different realities of what love looks like and feels like that I was enchanted by it all. That song played more like poetry than it did like a traditional song. And the deviations that we went on felt very natural, because I think that's how love feels sometimes. You never know when it's coming. Suddenly you're in it, suddenly it can end at any time, but also the love in small moments. The fact that you can love a feeling or an emotion as much as you can a person. The love that you have for the memories that you've had on the beach, or going to a specific party, or being in any specific circumstance. Like, you are able to connect with love wherever you find it and wherever you most enjoy it. So I love that it is all in the same level playing field of being with a person, but also being in a place and experiencing, having a sip of a drink, like a glass of ice cold water on a hot summer day. Like anything that feels like it nourishes you in that way can be considered love. It is not just for human relationships and marriage and kids and all of these things. I really like the deprioritizing and leveling out of that sentiment, and then slapping it on this rave beat that you can release your soul to. Feels like you are bonded to it in that way. Like you have to give something to the track in order to listen to it. It demands so much from you to find yourself in pieces of that experience. This is so real. I feel like a lot of artists think that they can't be this vulnerable about stuff, or it becomes too meta or whatever, but we live in a meta universe. We all know too much about the industry, and it's where we are now. So having a song where you literally say, I think too much about Billboard, is so valid, and it feels so real. And it feels like it connects me more to her than some vague description of seeking awards. Like, you can just say the thing. And I think this is exactly the right project to say the thing, because it's so rooted in her childhood rave experiences, but also is broken down in a way where it feels like corrupted data that we should not have. Even with the album cover, I never talked about the album cover. I'm so sorry. I try to remember to talk about it at the beginning, and sometimes I just don't. But you know what? I do appreciate that I've gotten to a point where it feels like it's come full circle, because what am I looking at? I'm looking at glitchy text on a green background. It just says Brat. We didn't refine anything. And it feels like something you would make if you were starting your first project and you were like, this looks good. I feel like I even made something like this. I keep trying to pull it up in my head, and maybe not, but I feel like I did something like this because it's like what your capabilities are at the time. At the same time, it is rejecting all of the ideas of what a high concept album looks like. And we have that high concept album here. There is nothing in this that alludes to the kind of production that we're gonna have, the kind of lyrics that we're gonna have, which have been so dynamic and expansive and interesting. This just feels like you have to listen to it to understand. And it feels iconic now because we look at videos and album art and everything, and it's like there's a million things going on because there's so much desire to trap your attention. Going back to Rewind, I'm also a very nostalgic person. I love thinking about the past and all the ways that I've grown and what my old experiences were like. And even having a moment in the song where you say all the celebrities call paparazzi anyway, why do I suddenly feel bad about it? Like the nature of doubt when you also have tracks that are like, I don't doubt that you are obsessed with me, that you want to be me. Like it feels like the persona of Charli XCX and who Charli actually is as a person. And the melding of those two things created this beautiful brainchild of a project. This beginning is the beginning of her connecting with music, is so sacred and so beautiful. And we're at a point in time where reflecting back brings us new understandings of how we relate to it. I love that she did something that is essentially a callback to herself. This is definitely one of the sadder songs, talking about a relationship, talking about pushing someone away, and you can feel the pain and discomfort, because there's even a line where we talk about not wanting to cry, but being told that it's okay to cry and then crying. The beat itself feels like we are lost within time, almost like a metronome would be playing in the background. Like it just feels very mercurial and like it's watching you even. I don't know if this means that we are speaking to an afterlife or speaking to something in the past, but it's definitely not, it's either not someone who's present with us on earth right now or present with us in this relationship. So feeling that sensation of loss in general. That feels even more clear to me because it comes after Rewind. And so we're living in some version of the past. Rewind could even be the threshold through which we start seeing things differently, past moments differently. But it solidifies to me that there are many themes in this moment that are related to the past moments that are plaguing us now and are interacting with our self-doubt in ways that feel sad. Not as painful, I would say, but just really sad. I don't know where this takes us afterwards. It does feel like we're going for another dip in the project. We left that confidence space with Von Dutch and Everything Is Romantic, even in some ways with Rewind, even though that had a bit of nostalgia, and so it felt like it was beginning a descent. And now we might hit the bottom again and come back up just in time for the end of the project. So having these two like concaving rhythms of production and lyrics feel like, again, I've said this before, feel like flashes in the pan, right? We're ripping back the face and we're showing our vulnerability, and then we're putting back on the persona of who we are as an artist and sharing that. And this doesn't have to be a right assumption, it's just what I'm perceiving in the music, but it's so interesting to me because it feels very playful and forgiving at the same time.
It's so confusing sometimes to be a girl. Yeah, I don't know if you like me. Sometimes I think you might hate me. Sometimes I think I might hate you. Maybe you just wanna be.
That's a banger. That's a banger. I get what everybody's talking about now. It's been so tough being locked out of this conversation and seeing even like the remix happening and being like, I wonder what it sounds like. That is so vulnerable and so fun. And knowing that Lord does hop on this eventually, it's so funny to be like, I think you want me to see me fail. I think that you don't like me. I think they compare us too much. I think all of these are issues. Having all of that together just feels so real. This is real stuff we're talking about, okay? Real dynamics, real healing going on in the music. How often do you get that? Normally they settle the beef elsewhere, then they come on a track and they talk about, I don't know, just like hanging out, whatever their genre is. Now they're together, they're united, and we're like, yay, they united a song, that's fun. But this is like, we are talking about the disagreement in the track.
You're all about writing poems, but I'm about throwing parties. Think you should come to my party and put your hands up. Because people say we're alike. They say we've got the same head. One day we might make some music. The internet would go crazy.
There's so much to be said This is a huge step. Obviously, I can't speak for women because I jumped off that train. Really, I've never really been on that train. But this does feel like a big step in many ways. I don't want to say for womankind because I don't want to deep it that hard. There's obviously real structural things that we can do in the society. But this is exciting to experience an artist going through this and having a look into her brain where it's like, I see all this too, you know, these memes don't exist outside of me. This commentary doesn't, these forums, all the things that you say, I also see it and experience it. I never say anything about it because there's like a veil between me and you, but now it's dropped. I love that. That's actually my favorite song off the project. 100%. 100%. I can't wait to listen to the remix. That is incredible. This feels more family related, I guess, just from the expression, you know, apple not falling too far from the tree. But even in asking, you know, where do you go when you're frustrated? I just want to leave home, like going to the airport. We're just trying to escape the things that we see in ourselves that come from our parents. And it makes sense having tracks like Rewind on this project as well, because we're rooted in the past so much, it makes sense to talk about family. I didn't think that we were going to because we've been talking about relationships and relationships with people that we don't actually know that well and what those feel like, whether it be other celebrities, other artists, the people that are in your audience, your fans. But now it feels like this maturing that we're going into is showing us things that we don't necessarily like to see and wanting to free ourselves from that experience. I don't think this song has enough context for me to pull that much information from it. And coming after Girl So Confusing, it doesn't have the same amount of magnitude. Like that track, lyrics, production, everything was just perfect. So I'm feeling like this might be the beginning of our descent back up, because Girl So Confusing definitely was like the deepest that we could go in the graph that I've been making this entire time. That's the deepest that we could go. That's another single that I absolutely loved. I love the trance elements. It feels so haunting and it feels like we are caught in this relationship where we might go back, but we don't want to. There's an element of breaking free, which also is similar to the element of breaking free in Apple. So I see how those two things align a little bit. I don't really have anything else to say about that song. That's definitely my number 2 after Girl So Confusing. It just feels so good to listen to. And I love how her vocals are consistently chopped up throughout the project, because it just like, you just get caught up in it and you just give yourself over to it. Again, we have another relationship-based song. The production feels like it takes over more than the lyrics, which is how we get so swept up into the track. And it does continue to be on theme with the vulnerable songs, except for, I would say, Girl So Confusing being heavier on production and less on the lyrics, because we don't have to hammer home as much the intricacy of what we're feeling if you can feel it through the music as well.
Yeah, it's 2 a.m. and she's out there in a sheer white dress, wearing last night's makeup. For all my mean girls, this one's for all my bad girls, this one's for all my breaking boyfriends.
I want to scream. I want to scream. That was so good. Oh my God. Oh my God. That's like everything that I like. I feel like I never have this much energy. You never get a reaction like this out of me because I'm so focused on what I'm gonna say. Like I'm thinking as I'm listening. I couldn't even think. I just had to experience that. Charli, 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 Charli. This is the track that people are not talking about. People are not talking. I didn't see anything. Granted, I wasn't looking because I'm keeping it fresh for y'all. But I did not see anything online about Mean Girls. Not a drop. Everything was Girls So Confusing, this, that. Who's hopping on this remix? Who is hopping on this remix? Because goddamn, that was incredible. Okay, first of all, I'm a New Yorker, so I feel like that was made for me. Even though I'm not a mean girl, I can be mean. And there's so much I understand about this aesthetic. I do. The production, going into the piano, did you have to cut it down like that? Like, that was just genius. Because we could take a little break, because we could play the piano for y'all so you could really see what's behind the production, how we're really making this come to life, right? Oh my gosh. And then the storytelling, talking to the dad, fingering the chain, smoking a cigarette, listening to Lana Del Rey, which I don't really identify with because I don't listen to that much Lana, and I know I owe you that video. And trust me, don't even get mad at me because, first of all, this might be my YouTube channel thing that I owe you a Lana video, but I do have a close friend in my life who loves Lana and keeps hounding me about it. So trust me, it'll come. It will come. He's gonna keep asking me. But oh my gosh, Charli, I feel like the respect just like jumped out of my heart. Like, it was already there because I know what you do and I'm already invested, but I want to listen to that again. I don't think I've had that feeling for a song in a long time. And this is why I do this. So you can see that I'm forever changed, and I hope that you're forever changed too. There is not enough that I can say about that. I can write essays about that. I can write books about that. I can make paintings about that. Phenomenal. Pop girlies better step it up. I hope y'all scared. No, but for real though, that was absolutely fantastic. That was so real. Thinking about parenthood and meeting someone who you might have a child with, and then being like, this might outweigh my career. This feels small in comparison to my career, but do I really want that? But I might run out of time. Like, all of these thoughts, all of these decisions. Wow. I cannot believe she just put that in there, especially after hearing Mean Girls, which definitely disarmed all of my defenses. I felt like I was almost going to cry listening to that, because that's a conversation a lot of people have with themselves. If they do want children, and what will that look like, and how will that change your life? There's something about having vulnerable lyrics on production that I feel I have not personally heard traditionally used that way, that is so enchanting to me. It's a tantalizing mix because you could actually play that in the club and feel a multitude of things in the club. Like, you could if you really wanted to. She has so many different sides, so many different facets, and she's not afraid to show those things to you. I love that she's not shying away from her multitudes, and because she is sharing her multitudes, we're allowed to have a personalized experience with this project where there is nothing to be shy about. First of all, I love that we heard Brat at the very end, because I'm like, okay, everything is put together. But she's a party girl. She has so many sides, so many multitudes, and I'm loving all of them. For a second, I was like 360 and 365. What is a comparison? But it started off like that, and then we took a tour around the world. And that's what this whole project felt like, a tour around the world. I love the production on that. I love the lyrics. I love that there is this party rave culture. I've received so much satisfaction from this project in ways that I could not even have begun to imagine. And I love that this is becoming mainstream and commercially successful, because this tells me that the music culture is okay. Y'all are doing all right. Y'all are doing just fine. I have faith in you again. Tying it all together, we had peaks and valleys of emotion. We had so much dynamic production, and there are moments that stand out so brightly. Mean Girls, Girls So Confusing, even 365 in many ways, that feel all encompassing and like they are demanding so much of you. The veil was torn back. We saw so many layers and different sides to her, and they felt genuine and authentic. And I love that this cultivates a new relationship between Charli and her audience. It allows you to see more of her in a more genuine way. And it plays with this relationship of being parasocial, but also the many ways in which she is meta, the self-doubt she has, the confidence that she has, the things that she regrets, and it allows you to feel that as well so deeply and personally. I absolutely love this project. Thank you for voting for it. I was gonna listen to it anyway, but I'm so glad that this is recorded. I can always count on y'all to give me something nice to listen to, something that is profoundly impacting you, absolutely. That's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you're having a wonderful day or night wherever you are, and I'll see you in the next one.